What is it they're going to miss out if they don't come to this, at least some of the sessions?
It's, as I told before, all of the features that have been in 2021, that are introduced in 2021, will be discussed in more detail. And,
what are the key fit? Because not everyone's using ColdFusion 2021. We recently ran the State of the ColdFusion Union survey, and I think ColdFusion 2018 is still the most popular flavor of ColdFusion, and 2021 does have a significant number of people using it, but it's still not got fully adopted.
ColdFusion Alive, the podcast for the ColdFusion community. Discover practices, tools, techniques, tips and trends for modern ColdFusion development. Brought to you by TerraTech, the ColdFusion experts. Develop, secure, optimize. Here is your host, the founder of TerraTech, Michaela Light.
Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Kishore Balakrishnan from Adobe, and we're going to be talking about ColdFusion Development Week 2021, which is coming up in 19 days as we're doing this recording, probably less days when you actually listen to this episode. And we're going to be revealing all the speakers and topics that are new, and talking about why all ColdFusion developers worldwide should go to this event. Welcome, Kishore.
Hey, Michaela. It's great to be back. How are you doing?
Doing great. So fabulous. The sun has come out now, so fabulous day. For those of you who don't know Kishore, he's the principal product marketing manager for ColdFusion at Adobe. And he also, he's the voice of the customer. He's, if you have concerns or questions, you can always direct them to him. And he talks to a lot of organizations who use ColdFusion to find out, what they're doing with it. And, all kinds of things there. And he's coming to us live from Bangalore, India. So welcome, Kishore.
Thanks, Michaela.
And
hope those everyone is keeping safe.
Yes, stay safe, stay healthy. Yeah. Keep doing good things with ColdFusion. By the way, those who don't know, just in case you think Kishore is like a marketing propeller head, really he did a computer science degree, so he actually understands all this ColdFusion stuff.
Yeah, I started working with ColdFusion way back in around 2000 when I was doing my master's. Didn't get a chance to get into it, but yes, I knew about ColdFusion at that time itself.
That's great. All right. So what exactly is ColdFusion Developer Week?
ColdFusion Developer Week is actually it's always an online event wherein we have a lot of sessions which typically used to span over a week, but since everyone is working from home, we thought spanning everything over a week's time is too much. So this year we just made it only for 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So it's a 3-day event which has 8 sessions every day, 2 tracks, 8 sessions. So you have 4 sessions in a single track. And we didn't want to keep it, one after the other, because people are at home. There's no point in having sessions stacked each one after the other. So what we had done is it's one session, then you get a break of an hour to catch up on your mails, or like in my case, spend some time with my son. So that's what it is. And it's also a place where you could meet up with other developers or virtually. And you also have a lot of sponsors available. Right now, we have close to 10 sponsors. You could hop onto their booth, see what they have to offer. And if you need to talk to someone, there's a ping mechanism inbuilt into the booth. So you could ping the booth representative, and you and him could have either a video conference or an online chat, or whatever is it that you want to do. And it's also a great place where you could ask a lot of questions, and get a lot of goodies as well in the process. So it's not only you're just sitting there and uh, learning new stuff, but you also could get a lot of goodies by just participating in the sessions.
Well, that's good to hear, because I think people are a little zoomed out from watching online webinars, whatever technology is being used for that. So it's nice that you can interact with other ColdFusion developers. What about the ColdFusion engineering team? Will we be able to ask them questions?
Oh, yeah, definitely. ColdFusion engineering team is always up there to, always ready to talk to developers, and any questions you throw at them, they'll always come back to you with answers. So they'll also be there, as well as the support team will also be there.
Cool. So if anyone has something they're concerned about, or there's something that they're having an issue with, they can, or even a suggestion for the next version of ColdFusion, they could bring that up and chat with the actual team.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point that you made, Michaela. So we are just starting out on developing features for the next version. So if you have anything that you think needs to get into the version, now is the right time. You could always drop me a mail, or you could always contact the alias of Adobe ColdFusion at adobe.com, and we'll make sure that we'll get back to you.
Excellent. So you're using the same online platform that you used for CF Summit Online last year, right? I think it's called Vertex or something like that. vConfX. And that seemed to work really well. You had over 1,000 people live, I think, last time, and you had over 3,000 watching the recordings. So, are you doing recordings this time, or?
Yes, all the recordings will be available. So, and Summit, we had close to 6,000 registrations, Michaela. And,
wow.
Around 3,800 people attended at least at least two sessions. Watched at least two sessions.
Wow.
So
it's amazing. And were they all from the United States or other countries, or?
Most were from the United States, followed by India, and surprisingly, there were a lot of registrations from Paris and Germany as well.
Maybe, I know the CF camp used to happen in Germany. I hope it comes back when all this crazy travel stuff ends. But it's great to hear that people in France are taking interest in ColdFusion again, because I know for a while it kind of dropped down there. So very cool. So for the ColdFusion developers and managers listening, why should they attend CF Dev Week, do you think?
It tells you what are the new things, particularly from a keynote perspective. It tells you what are the new things that are going to come up in the next version, or at least what is it that we are planning on doing in the next version. And for ColdFusion developers, they'll get a chance to deep dive into what are the new features of CF 2021. And for the managers, it also gives some sessions like, what is the CIO's take on ColdFusion? What should they be looking out for? Like Mark is doing one amazing session about that. And also, it's also a good place where you could talk about, learn new stuff. Like we have sessions from folks who are Azure gurus, and we have sessions from AWS specialists. Like Sami Huda is doing a session on what's new in AWS. So as a web developer, I think you shouldn't be missing out on such amazing sessions. This is one place where you will be able to get amazing information about AWS, Azure, and we have a rockstar lineup of speakers. Speakers whom I have, like Ben Adal is talking at this developer week, and we have Sami Huda, and I think these are the guys who used to talk regularly at the conferences, and it's great of them that they had taken the time. I know those guys are extremely busy, but they have again decided to participate in the event. So it was amazing that they could join our events.
That's great. We'll go through the topics and speakers in more detail later in the episode. But I'm kind of curious, how did you guys pick who the speakers and topics would be?
So typically for CF Summit, we have a call for speakers and everything, but this time we didn't have the bandwidth or the time to do that. So because we had a release and we had all these crazy things happening. So what we did was the content committee, which comprises of Dan, Brian Klaus, Dan Wilson, Brian Klaus, Mark Takata, who's our evangelist, Alicia. So we thought like, okay, what will be the good topics for folks to listen to? Because all this will be recorded and it will be available throughout. So we chose the topics and we went to the speakers to ask them, saying that, hey, will you be willing to talk about the topics? So they said like, yes. Most of them said yes, and a couple of them said no because of they had some prior things that they had to do.
Well, that's great that you involved two people from the ColdFusion community in your topic selection committee. For those who don't know, both Dan Wilson and Brian Klass, longtime ColdFusion community members. So good that you take that input in there when you're picking the topics.
Dan Wilson used to run NC DevCon, so
yes,
running events is nothing new to him.
Indeed. Yeah, I hope that comes back in the future, but we shall see.
I think we all should start pressurizing Dan to do that. I have been asking him every time I get an opportunity. I always ask him. I always bring this up slightly and say like, hey, Dan, when is the next NC DevCon going to happen? So I think all of us should start asking Dan whenever we talk to him.
Well, I'll let him know that as well when I next talk to him.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think it's important that people attend the event? What is it they're going to miss out if they don't come to this, at least some of the sessions?
It's as I told before. All of the features that have been in 2021 that are introduced in 2021 will be discussed in more detail. And,
what are the key fit? Because not everyone's using ColdFusion 2021. We recently ran the State of the ColdFusion Union survey, and I think ColdFusion 2018 is still the most popular flavor of ColdFusion, and 2021 does have a significant number of people using it, but it's still not got fully adopted.
Yeah, because
so what are they missing out on?
Just released 2021, so in an enterprise space, it takes a lot of time for people to move to the newer version because all the apps that needs to be tested again with the newer version, and then it needs to get deployed. So a couple of sessions that we have, most of the sessions will have some flavor of 2021. If you look at it, Mark is doing one session which talks about how to build single page applications using ColdFusion. So he's going to talk about some of the new features that is there, and we'll also be talking about what are the new scaling enhancements that we have done in 2021.
Does it run faster than ColdFusion 2016 or 2018?
It definitely runs faster than 2016, but now I think 2018 comparatively, it's the same amount performance output that you get.
Mm-hmm.
And that we had reduced the installer size quite drastically because
I heard it went from a gigabyte down to what's it down to now?
I think around 40 MB or something like that.
Wow. So it loads up a lot faster, which is good for people doing programming.
Yeah. And we also did a lot with respect to, automation and how to build a CI/CD pipeline using ColdFusion. So Brian will be talking about how do you automate your workflows with 2021, and we also have a session from this thing which talks about what are the new cloud features that we have introduced, and Dave Ferguson will be talking about NoSQL, what are the NoSQL enhancements that we have done in 2021.
I mean, for me, I think the two big things are, it's multi-cloud support, so you don't get locked into one cloud vendor. And then also microservice support, like you were saying, with the smaller footprint for the loading. Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of new language features too to check out. So, and of course, as always, the security is gold standard.
Obviously.
We've got that security czar who works there at Adobe who makes sure the developers never write any insecure code.
This podcast is brought to you by TerraTech, the ColdFusion experts. Develop, secure, optimize. Get detailed show notes on today's episode and your free CF Alive Modern ColdFusion Guide at terratech.com. That is TerraTech.com. And now back to today's show.
That is it. And also Pete always keeps us honest. Pete his applications, and he always keeps us honest.
He does.
And we also, this time we also have another interesting speaker from Veracode who will be talking about security in general, about how security should be looked at in an enterprise place. So that is something which will be, that's also one session which even personally I'm looking forward to. Ray Dango is the speaker, and I'm looking forward to that session just to understand, what do other enterprises look at from a security perspective?
Excellent. Very cool. Well, let's just talk a bit more in detail about topics. And I've listed them all out in the show notes on the TerraTech site. And you can also find them on the CF Dev Week site as well. So we'll put a link to the ColdFusion Dev Week website where you can register as well in the show notes. So we've got Giancarlo Gomez. He's going to be talking about using WebSockets. So it's a great way to do asynchronous communication in your ColdFusion apps. And then Mike Collins is going to be talking about scaling your apps. Mike is a real expert on both scaling and supporting apps. So, and then Corbin Crunchley is going to be talking about using ColdFusion APIs in Expo mobile apps. Luis Mahano from Autis is going to be talking about building modern web apps with Content Box, CMS. Brian Zappi is going to be talking about using the API Manager.
So Brian has two sessions. One is about the API Manager. The second one is about how do you build a CI/CD pipeline with all the new enhancements that we have done with the installer in ColdFusion 2021 release.
Excellent. And then Pete Freitag, as you mentioned earlier, he's going to be talking about how you can secure your ColdFusion apps. And Pete has several, third-party products for improving ColdFusion security as well. Worth checking those out if you haven't looked at them. Then we've got cloud features in 2021. I'm not sure who's covering that. Is that...
It'll be from the engineering team, yes.
The engineering team, okay. We'll get whoever that's going to be doing that. And then Charlie Earhart, famous ColdFusion developer, CF 411 site.
Yeah.
If you haven't been there, great resource. And he's going to be talking about ColdFusion at 25, because we celebrated the 25th anniversary earlier this year. And how it's really not old, it's modern. The talk's actually titled "Not the Kid Most Have Stuck in Their Minds." So, yeah, and he's always a great speaker, chock full of information.
You can't miss his session.
No. Then we've got Ray Bango, as you mentioned, talking about security from a more external point of view. Sami Hodder talking about what's new in Adobe Web Services in 2021, which you can use very easily from ColdFusion now. Burke Holland talking about Azure. The thing is, I was wrong about Azure, so I guess he didn't like it and then he embraced it.
No, he is part of the Azure team, so he is an evangelist in the Azure team. So it talks about his perspective of how things changed when he looked at Azure 4 years back, and by the time when he joined, and what basically it talks about his learning curve with Azure. So I think we should, if anyone is planning on moving to Azure or consuming services in Azure, I think that's one of the sessions which you shouldn't miss.
Cool. Yeah, you're covering a lot of the big cloud vendors here, so that's very. And are those the two current cloud platforms supported by CF 2021, Azure and AWS, or do you support any other ones currently?
For the time being, these are the two that we are supporting, but the idea is to have a couple of other platforms also supported, before the end of this year or maybe next year. Cool.
Well, those AWS and Azure are the two top enterprise cloud platforms. So, I think you've covered a lot of the territory with that. Then Mike Brunt, he's going to be talking about the JVM and how you can improve ColdFusion performance by tuning that. Ben Nadell is going to be talking about feature flags and how they change everything about product development. Ray Camden used to be the CF Jedi Master, and he's going to be talking about extending PDF capabilities with Adobe Document Services.
Yeah.
Brian Klass, he's going to be talking about developing apps with queues and publication and subscribe mechanisms, which translates to SQS, SNS, Rabbit, MQ, and some other things. So modern way to develop there. David Breyer is going to be talking about ColdFusion modernization challenges, how you can improve your legacy code while retaining your sanity. And there's a lot of legacy code out there, so that's an important talk, I think. And then Mark Takata, the new ColdFusion Evangelist, he's going to be doing two talks. Firstly, about the CIO's perspective on ColdFusion 2021, looking at the numbers behind it. And then he's going to talk about RAD SPSS with CF and JavaScript. So, and then David Tattersall is rounding out the regular speakers with how to become an application superhero, reduce your technical debt impact, and keep your applications performing as they should, which I'm imagining will involve Fusion Reactor, but I don't know for sure.
I think so. Yes, obviously.
And then Ashish Garg, who is one of the leaders in the ColdFusion development team, he's going to be talking about ColdFusion 2021 and the next version. Do you know what the name of the next version is going to be, or is that dependent on the year it gets released in? Or?
No, it will be dependent on the year that it gets released in.
Okay, well, I'm just going to make a guess. It's either going to be CF 2022 or CF 2023 is my guess, but we'll see. Yeah. And then you mentioned you have 10 sponsors that people can
talk to. Yeah.
Vet. Who are the sponsors? Because I'm not seeing those on the website. Maybe I'm missing it somewhere.
We still haven't put up the details on this thing. It's the same usual culprits.
All right. I'll fill it in the show notes later. But TerraTech is one of the sponsors. I'm pretty sure Autis is, and Integral.
Integral is, Hostec is. So you have all the usual suspects in there. And
all right.
Thank you so much to all the sponsors for promoting the event as well.
Absolutely. We want, I think this is a great event. I'd recommend it. I'll get to how much it costs in a minute, but it's not a lot.
It's not a lot at all.
No. And I think, everyone can improve their ColdFusion skills and be aware of what's, they're missing out on in ColdFusion, because so many new things get added to ColdFusion. It's hard to keep up with everything. So this is an opportunity to refresh your skills and just be aware. Sometimes I find it helps to just be even aware a feature exists, because then when you're doing a project, you're like, oh yeah, I could do that. But if you don't even know it exists, you can't take advantage. So
exactly.
It is good. Now, we mentioned, Mark is the new ColdFusion Evangelist. What exactly does that mean? What is he doing?
Mark is a developer evangelist. So his role is, talking to customers, talking to developers, and see how easy he could, how he could change the life of the developers. What are the things that Adobe needs to do to help a ColdFusion developer become productive as soon as possible.
Okay, so it sounds like he has two roles. One is listening to what concerns developers have and making those voices heard back in the development team and the marketing team. And then the second one is also, I assume, speaking like he is at this event and probably other events, yes, to explain to people why ColdFusion is wonderful.
Definitely.
So, cool. Now, I remember in the ColdFusion summits, you often had a day where people could take ColdFusion certification. Is that part of this, or how does that work these days?
No, ColdFusion certification has been taken online this year. So we took it online.
So you don't have to wait. You could take it tomorrow.
You don't have to you could take it anytime you want.
Okay.
So go to adobe.com/ColdFusion. You will see a Adobe Certified Professional tab over there, and that will provide you with all the details.
And how much does certification cost to do?
We were thinking of pricing it around $2,000. Then we said,
and it's $149 really.
It's $149.
Okay, cool. And that's not just the certification. It's got a whole bunch of training videos and
yes. So
other
it
resources.
Has close to around 50. You get access to close to around 50 training videos, and it also includes the cost of taking the exam as well.
Great. And that's a way to show folks that you're up to date with your ColdFusion. And, even if you've been doing ColdFusion for years, I found when I've taken these certifications, I like new stuff that I didn't know about. So there are definite benefits to doing that.
Yeah.
So when is ColdFusion Developer Week?
It's 22nd to 25th of this month.
All right. So that's a Wednesday through Friday?
Wednesday to Thursday.
Wait, I thought it was 3 days.
24. Yeah. Sorry,
okay.
Tuesday to Thursday. Sorry.
Tuesday to Thursday. That's what it is. I knew it was 3 days. And are the sessions all US time, or are some in European time or other time zones? Or?
We did that in Summit, but since the recordings are going to be available immediately, the sessions are mostly in US time, or all in US time.
Okay, so it might be a little in the afternoon or in the early evening.
So it'll be little in the afternoon for folks in Europe, and early evening for folks in India.
Cool. Well, that's good. When do the recordings come out for people who want to see
the recordings should be out immediately. Like you take the first session, I think by the time you take the second session, the first session recording should be.
Wow. That's impressive, because I know in some online events you have to wait weeks to see the recordings. So that's very handy. So, and then let's just talk about how much this costs. How much does it cost to attend?
It's an online event, so all we require is your time.
So it's free, no cost.
No cost.
So you just have to go to adobe.vconfex.com, and I'll put that URL in the show notes on our site, and just register, and then you'll get an email letting you get into the conference.
Yeah.
Are there any other Adobe ColdFusion events planned for this year? Or?
No, unfortunately, we will not be having any in-person events, but we'll definitely be having Adobe ColdFusion Summit sometime in December, which will again be online.
Excellent. That was a great event last year, so recommend that to folks. And I'm pretty sure Ortis is doing a developer week or some other, cold box related event at some point this year, but I'm forgetting what date they're doing it. And they did send out a survey saying, should we do an in-person event? So I don't know what they concluded from that. But
I would like to hear the feedback from that. But yes, we are all missing the in-person events. I could say that.
Yes. I don't know where I don't know if they were going to do it in Texas they've done it in Houston, Texas before, and Texas is pretty, open up at this point. So, but I don't know what they concluded. So let's just wrap up this interview by talking about how ColdFusion is doing from the business point of view.
From a business point of view, ColdFusion is doing pretty well. So over the last couple of years, we have been able to get in a lot more attract a lot more new customers with the API management fees and also folks. So I can't give you the exact numbers, but we definitely achieved 20% more than our target last year. And the first 2 quarters of this year also has been really good for us from a business perspective.
Well,
and
that is
couldn't have happened, without getting newer customers onboarded, and obviously with the help of existing customers as well. So, business has been doing really great. And once this pandemic is over, we are looking forward to meeting our customers face to face.
Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you and the rest of the Adobe team at some future event.
Definitely.
In person. I really enjoyed visiting the headquarters of the development team in Bangalore in India and getting to see how you all do stuff there. So, and enjoying the great.
It was really great having you here, Michaela. You should definitely make it a yearly occurrence.
Happy to visit India anytime. I actually got myself, I don't know if you know this, but it's actually a lot of paperwork to get a visa to go to India.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's probably the same for you going to the US, right? You have to fill out all these forms. But I decided,
for us, at least it's okay. Like once you get it, it's for like 10 years or 5 years. So
well, you can get 1 year, but I paid the extra to get a 5-year one because I knew I wanted to come back. So.
Oh, nice. That's great. Then you don't have to go through the paperwork again.
I don't have to do the paperwork again. So, and it was actually this was the second visit I've made to India. I was last there, I think, in 1982 or something. And back then it was all paper. But now when I went, it was all in Bangalore airport. It was all electronic and, barcodes, and it was very efficient. So I think India's made a great leap forward in the last 40 years. So
exactly.
It's quite impressive. Are there any other things we should look out for in ColdFusion land this year?
There are a lot of things which you should look out for, but I will wait for the keynote to come out. So you should definitely hear the keynote, because Ashish will be talking about a lot of great stuff that's going to come out. Excellent.
So if folks want to find you online, what are the best ways to do that?
I'm available on Twitter. It's kishore31@gmail.com, or the easiest way to reach out to me, just drop me a mail. It's kishore@adobe.com, and I'll make sure that I respond to each and every mail that I get.
Excellent. Well, appreciate all you're doing in marketing and putting events like this together for ColdFusion. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, Michaela. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Get detailed show notes on today's episode in your free CFA Live Modern ColdFusion Guide at teratech.com. That is teratech.com. Viva la CFA Live Revolution!